when you're starting out with chisels, a great way to start out is simply doing it by hand. No mallet, no hammer, just by hand. A great task to do is creating a chamfer on a scrap piece of wood. Now I know I've done this video before, but I wasn't happy with the results and the angles that I got, so we're going to get a slightly better angle from over here, a slightly better angle from up here, and a slightly better angle from here of me talking, but probably can't see the wood so well. I'm going to set up the combination square to 8mm. You can 8, 10, 6, try different ones. Do 6 and then 8 and then 10 and 12. Get way more practice in. I'm going to take it down on a piece of timber here, and I'll do this one in 10. I wouldn't normally do it, so that you can see it. Now when that's in there like that, I can run that through here. Okay, so I've got my 8mm either side. Now with this, I would like to put a 45-degree angle on it. So we'll take this here and run one end, put that down there. We will match that end in there. Go for approximately 200mm. And this is what we're going to cut out. That'll be our waist. Now I'll do this so that we can cut to the line. I've secured the timber. Instead of the bench vise, I've got a nice clamp here, bench clamp, and I'm using as wide a chisel as possible. This is a 38mm chisel, and this would be a nice one to start out on. A lot of people think because they're going to go a little bit here that they'll use like a 20mm or a 12mm chisel, but that's actually going to be a little harder to learn on and control. The wider the chisel, the better when you're starting out. And with this one, we're going to work and cut this out. I'm going to be moving from side to side because I want to put notches in this here, and then I want to shave it out from here. Let's start out with how to hold the chisel. I don't always hold it by the handle, even though that would be a wise thing to do, but you don't need to. I want to get quite close to that blade and have more control over it. So I'm going to take this in my hand here, and I'm going to put my thumb and finger around it there and get it by the neck. This is called the neck, just above the shoulders. I'm going to hold it like that. I've been asked, doesn't it hurt on these because these bits are sharp? Yes, it can hurt a little, but then you're holding it too tight. Don't hold it so tight. Just hold it enough with the thumb and finger and there, and it won't hurt. Now, on this piece, if I'm working in this direction, I'm right-handed. So I'm going to work with my left elbow on the bench. What that will do is this will restrict my movement. I don't want to go that far, so I want to stay as close as I can to limit my movement. With that on there, I'm going to turn. This is the top of the chisel, this is the back of the chisel, the flat end. If we can see from above, what that does is it means the bevel here on the sharp end, I can move that back and forth. So when I'm going through my timber here, I'm able to move that up and down and lift the timber up and down. It will also mean that as I'm pushing the chisel through here, the chisel will want to push against the bevel and ride up, which is what we want most of the time. If I started out and trying to chisel the right way around, as in top up, bottom down, or the back of it down, when I push in here, that would end up just driving down and going down into the timber, which take me beyond my line. So this is where we're beginning to control our chisel. You'll turn that over, and multiple different ways to use it. So we turn that over. Now if I start, we can get a zoom in on that one. You can see that we're too high there. The point isn't even on the timber. So it needs to be lifted up at an angle is with the bevel. And that's just going to ride along there. And now it's doing nothing because I haven't even got it high enough. So up higher, just more than what the bevel is, and it'll start to cut there ever so slightly. And that's what we want. Now it would take ages if we're going to take little bits out like that. But if I take a bigger piece out, when I dig into that, what will happen is this timber now splits and it runs up here and splints. So to avoid it splinting beyond our stop end, we're going to move around to this side. I'm going to use the back of the chisel this time in here at the back. I'm going to put a notch in here. I'm putting a fair bit of force into that. I'm wriggling it in down to my lines. I don't want to go beyond my lines. And I'm going to actually put a few of these in. I'll go in there and that's down there. Now, I'm working so that I'm pushing away from myself. If I come back to here, elbow back on the bench, the sharp edge down and the back facing up. Now I can start working in this direction, holding my right hand up here on the top of that chisel. My thumb and finger are around here down the bottom, or I'm actually gripping it this way. Normally it's that way. Here, as I'm cutting through that timber, lifting that timber up, and it's going to look a bit rough, which is absolutely fine because we're not too pushed about this early stage. What I'm also doing is I am turning the chisel left and right. Not just left and right, it's going up and down and laterally, this left and right. So there's quite a bit of movement in that. There, I'm stuck on something, so I'm going to slow down, wriggle, twist it, lift that timber out. It is so tempting to see this come out here and to put your fingers in front of that and pull that out. This is what you really want to avoid. Use the chisel to do that, out of the way. Keep your hands and fingers behind the chisel. So we'll keep cutting on this one, wriggle that. If you notice there are no knots in here, I did select a piece of timber with few knots or none because I knew I was going to cut this. But if we do hit a knot, I'll try and hit a knot maybe on another side. I'll get another bit of scrap in a minute and hit a knot. With a knot, it's just going to be harder to get through. So start out without knots. Don't challenge yourself too much. That's going in there. There we go. That has shifted on me. And as we get through this, I'm going to slow down. And here we are. We've hit into this stop end here, but it's short of our line. So blow that out of the way. Nice to clean up afterwards. Let's come back on this side and put more notches in here. Much closer to our line. So we have it. Shift back round. And I'm starting away from this stop end. We're going to come to that later. What you find with this is it's pretty satisfying to get those curls out. It's also going to encourage you to want to actually have a sharper chisel. And there is a link to how to sharpen your chisels. But even before you learn to sharpen your chisels, I just get started on this. Because out of the box with new chisels, this is a pretty good exercise to do. So you control your chisel a bit more. So we're on that one now. And when it splits in there, that jumps on me. That's why my elbow's here, to restrict that jumping and that movement. Because you've got to push it, but you want to push it so much that you still can hold it back. Okay, we're getting really near this edge now. But before I get up to that edge, I want to look down along my my pen line. And it's pretty good. Let's try and get a little less out. There's a nice curl. Blow that out of the way. I'm not using my hand to move it, sweep it. Just blow it. Cut through there. Getting tight on that one. Into there. Let's go back on the other side. And I've cut down here. And I'm going to slowly cut back to my line. Back and forth, left and right on that chisel. Tip that out. Here we go. On the waist side of that line. And I'm going to do it with a sharp corner in there. I'll do a little more on the other side. So that's a sharp corner. I'm not trying to curve it that it peels out as a curve. You can sometimes do these as a curve, but on this one I actually want to hit the lines and do a sharp line in there on a 45 degree. That's that one. Now as I've worked towards that side, I've ignored this end. I need to start working this way. So I'm not going to work from that direction. It doesn't suit me. So instead I'll move the timber. It's going to turn and flip over. This one, let's start again. So we're going to put some notches back here, dig down into that timber, into our line, a couple more in. The other thing about this practice is the timber I'm using. It's planed all around and it's got a nice sharp edge, but it's a soft wood. So I'm not starting out on a hard wood. Build up to that. Moving, I need to jiggle that a little. There it goes. Here, cut everything out. And now, catching that line, that it's just riding on that bevel. I know it's a bit long, this can be. I have to admit, I quite enjoy doing this. It takes a bit of time, and that's where you can lose yourself in the joy of working with hand tools. The other thing that this will do for you is it will help you become a better woodworker. So even if you're doing this as part of carpentry, where quite often you'd be using more power tools, you'd still always need to be able to use hand chisels as a carpenter. And on something like this, yes, it could be routed, but that's not the point of this. The point of this is to understand the wood and to get the chisel control and learn your chisel control. And it takes practice. So if you're studying the subject, it takes multiple hits on this, multiple practices. And it's therapeutic. You lose yourself in it. If this is of help to you, it'd be great to hear from you and let me know. If you've just come across this video and you're interested in it, I find on YouTube is great, but it's a little hard to actually capture kind of lessons on it. So have a look on the website. There's a link below in the description to some tutorials where I've ordered a lot of these videos in a sequence where you could build up your skills. They're not just watching videos randomly. I've tried to put them in a sequential order where you can develop your skills and build it up, or where you can actually use it for revision if you're studying for this. Because a lot of this stuff is what I take students through in the classroom to study the course. And it's one thing doing a demo in the workshop, but when there's 20 people in the class, it's handy to have somewhere where you can revise, stop and rewind, or go over it again. Talking a load of blurb now. Okay, I have also been asked before, how do I get this smoother? Well, more practice. That'll get it a lot smoother. The other thing is, if you do actually check this out in certain places, you will see that there are slight imperfections in it. And as you get better and better at it, you'll get smoother on it. If you wanted, take a bit of sandpaper to it. But if this is what you're trying to achieve, you've learned your chisel control and you build it up. So if that's been of help, give it a thumbs up. That would really help. And look forward to seeing you in the next one. We'll go through recesses and then other cuts on there as well. Okay. Thanks. Cheerio.